Hello there, you're watching SketchMeMyLegs. Now, I'm here for two reasons, the first of which is to introduce this video. And I've been told that it's going to be an audiobook, which I'm going to do, which I haven't done yet. I tell you what it is there was a film called The Mummy, which came out in 1999. And then there was a sequel, and then there was a third one, which was absolutely appalling. But the first two were brilliant. They were so brilliant, in fact, that the child versions of Weldon and me were completely enraptured, and we decided to send off a script, a screenplay, if you will, for a possible third film. This is between the second and the third. The second one had just come out, and it would have been about 2006. We would have been about 12 years old, and we decided to write to Universal Studios with our screenplay, and here's what we sent them.
The Mummy's Revenge. Chapter 1. Under the scorching sun, 100 diggers set up camp over Hamunaptra, city of the dead. For years it had been Kevin Mitchell's ambition to go on a dig here. Kevin, leader of the dig, had always been an ambitious man. One of the reasons he wanted to come was that he had always been fascinated by mummies. Another reason was that he had heard the Book of the Dead and the Book of Amun-Ra were buried here. Myth had it that there was another book, the Book of the Gods. It was said that it could give you the power of Orisis, the rage of Anubis, and the courage of Amun-Ra. But if that wasn't enough, it had the power to raise the dead. Anyone who before tried to perform the ritual to raise the dead had met their fate. There was one man who tried to resurrect the woman he loved. He was sentenced to suffer the Hamun-Dai, an old Egyptian curse. It was the first and last time they ever used it. First they took out your tongue, then they mummify you alive, put you in a sarcophagus and fling scarab beetles, the flesh-eaters, and lock your sarcophagus. It was said that if a victim of the Hamun-Dai would ever arise, he would bring with him the 10 plagues of Egypt. There was one woman who, once, set the man free from the underworld. So many had died because of him. Of course, Kevin didn't believe this nonsense. There was something that drew him closer to the temple. He didn't know what it was, but there was something intriguing about it, like a tin can and a magnet. He walked through the huge arch. To his surprise, the torches were on. He took one pellet and loaded his handgun. There was a sudden scuttling sound. A huge lump appeared on the ground. The lump opened and hundreds of beetles came pouring out. It suddenly struck him that these were scarabs. He ran as fast as he could. He climbed the huge rock, and to his surprise the scarabs started to climb too. He went higher still, until as suddenly as it started, they scuttled back inside the pyramid. Not far away a band of men sat by a roaring fire. They talked of strange things, of a creature, a book, gods, and a lost city. One of the men seemed to be giving orders to the others. "We must not let the creature rise again. It has risen twice before. He cannot rise a third time," he told the others. Another spoke. "We cannot allow it." There was an uproar of approval at this. "We ride at sunset," roared the first man. "Be prepared for battle." "Ardet," called the man. "They are beginning to mine, and they could find the creature soon. We only put the body in the first burial chamber, and the 3 books are in the sarcophagus with it." "I shall take care of them, Urchuk," said Ardet. He walked to the edge of the cliff, loaded his gun, and fired. There was an uproar of panic at this. People ran everywhere looking for cover, some even running to get their own gun. Then a horrible sight met his eyes. An open sarcophagus, a skeleton, and 3 books. The Book of the Dead, the Book of Amun-Ra, and the Book of the Gods. And the terrible creature, Imhotep. Chapter 2. Meanwhile, not a million miles away, Rick O'Connell sat in one of his 10 sitting rooms without a care in the world. He looked at the massive oil painting above the fireplace. It reminded him of how he had got his mansion. He came home unexpectedly from Hamunaptra, having gone through a series of challenges there, one of which was a walking corpse that was bent on raising his dead girlfriend, and also bent on world domination. Twice. "Rick," said a familiar voice that brought him back to his senses. "Could you go check on Alex, Matt, and Andy?" Bang! Rick jumped to his feet. "What the hell was that? I think I know, said Evie. Rick carefully advanced up the stairs. There came a scuttling sound. Suddenly, holes burst in the wall. Rick jumped up the last few stairs. How many times? Do not break into my gun collection, yelled Rick at the three boys. One, Alex O'Connell, didn't normally do this sort of thing. Ever since Matt and Andy moved in, he had grown more rebellious. Matt and Andy were Rick's brother's children. Rick's brother married an Australian woman, so the boys pickled up their accents. But their parents were murdered. So Rick and Evie took care of them. So now Rick on a daily basis was having to dodge bullets and sometimes having to disable grenades. Any more and I'll have to put you two up for care. Sweet baby Jesus, said Andy. Andy loved guns. He loved the makes, the look, the sound, the bullets, and even the triggers. Matt, however, loved the old weapons, bows, axes, swords, and spears. Alex loved studying. Ugh. Andy and Matt thought he was a nutcase, but he didn't mind. He could tell you how many miles his house, or a mansion, was from Big Ben. He could even tell you how many miles England was from Cairo, Egypt. Once his studies had paid off, he had to use the Book of the Dead to resurrect Evie. Now, I want to chat with you three, said Rick. No time, shouted Evie. We just got a telegram from Ardith. What does it say? Shouted Rick. Come to Egypt. Stop. Kevin Mitchell found a mummy. Stop. Found books too. Stop. Book of the Dead, Book of the Living, Book of the Gods. Stop. Sorry about the short sentences. Stop. I wish they would stop. Oh, and why are you telling us stop? Just stop. I'll send it, said Matt. Oh no, you'll probably just use it for target practice. I'll post it. And with that, he was off. Quick, said Andy. Let's get the grenades. Evie sat down where Rick was sitting just 5 minutes ago. Where had she heard the name Kevin Mitchell before? She sat racking her brains about what Ardith had said. Who was this Kevin? Had he succeeded in resurrecting Imhotep? Was it his intention to? Why was he there? Did he mean to find Imhotep? But what she really wanted to know was, what was the Book of the Gods? She had read an inscription once, to find the other book will be a challenge for just one, but if you find it, you'd better run. The gods do not look lightly on those who steal their book. The last person that retrieved it, their souls they took. She guessed it must be that book, and she felt angry and sorry for that person. Rick walked along the path towards the post office. Something was bothering him. It was a mixture of fear, annoyance, and happiness. He was scared about maybe facing the mummy for a third time. He was annoyed that Ardith had alerted him when he led an army of Magi, but he did not know why he was so happy. Was it because he was going to see Ardith? No. Was it because he was going to be travelling? No. Then it struck him. He was expecting a letter telling him if he would become the captain of the U.S. Army. If he was, he would be in command of thousands of U.S. soldiers, tanks, and planes. He reached the post office, he handed in the telegram, and on the way out, Mrs. Tearbone stopped him. "Oh, Mr. O'Connell, this is for you," she said. "Oh, thanks," he replied. He looked at the top of the envelope. It said, CM 80CT Burns, and underneath, U.S. Army Force. This is it, thought Rick. He began to walk, he opened it, and it read, Dear Mr. O'Connell, it is my duty and absolute pleasure to inform you that for your great deeds, bravery, heroic skills, and services to the U.S. Army, I am delighted to say that you are now General Rick O'Connell. You shall be in command of some of the finest soldiers in history. Now, if you accept, you must come to New York, America, to the U.S. military base. There you shall receive your medals and a general's uniform. I look forward to seeing you there. Yours sincerely, Colonel CM 80CYXYZ Burns. Rick stopped dead. He was amazed. He, Rick O'Connell, was now General of the United States military. He started to walk again. Nothing could dampen his spirits now, or so he thought. Chapter 3. Rick opened the door of his mansion. Everything seemed normal. No fires, no missing walls, no people. Evie? He shouted. Alex? Andy? Matt? Then a voice from behind him said, I sent a telegram from the train. Hello, Ardith, he said. Correct. My people shall take care of them. Oh, and by the way, he said it very quickly. Your family have been taken as sacrifices to resurrect Imhotep. His people would take you to the plane and then fly you on to Egypt. What? But I need to go to America, he yelled. Well, began Ardith, you must decide what you love more, your job or your family. First stop, Egypt, he told Ardith. He was on the train to Egypt. He had the telephone. I need to go to Egypt, he exclaimed. My family have been taken there. We're here, said Ardith. They got off. Thompson, airgun or shotgun? Asked Rick. Thompson. I'll take the airgun then. And so they set off over the sands. For an age it seemed they endured the scorching sun, blistering winds, and dangerous animals. And at one point, the Red Jai, the mummy's servant plains. Finally, they arrived at the edge of a cliff. By this time it was dark, but Rick thought they would do the ritual outside of Hamunaptra. It looked as if they were doing it inside. They had guards at the huge arch leading inside, and Ardith took out a bow and arrow, and soon the guards were no more. They both prepared to abseil down the mountain. They fixed the harnesses and started down. It looks a lot bigger from here, shouted Ardith. They were halfway down the 250-feet cliff when all went wrong. Rick put his foot in a rock, but it gave way. The harness snapped, and in a strange turn of events, he was now falling off a cliff at 250 feet. Ah! He screamed as he fell. He was about 0.5 millimeter from the ground when his harness caught on a rock and caught on his belt. Ardith landed beside him with a soft tap on the sand. You've not done this a lot before, have you? It seems all this commotion has caused a little trouble, said Rick, getting up. No, replied Ardith. They're just beginning the ritual. A guard came round. Stop, Magi! He shouted. Then more guards came round, and even more. Soon it seemed half the mummy's army was out. Oh my God, said Rick. Charge, yelled the army. Kill him! Kill them all! Rick pulled the trigger, but his rifle, roasted by the sun, simply exploded in his face. He knew then that he was about to be killed to death, and then eaten in a horrifying blend of bones, daggered teeth, and general death. Suddenly, a cloud of F-15s burst through the clouds on combat power, front miniguns blazing, tearing a vast fiery chasm through the sky, leaving a trail of death and lead in their wake. The sky grew dark, and the silhouette of the slender strike fighter arced across it like some giant evil pterodactyl. In the distance, a blinding light materialized. A thermonuclear device had just exploded, discharging 75 square miles of Sahara to a badly burned crisp in a microsecond. Rick jumped into a nearby fridge and was saved, just in time. Sadly, though, the Magi were all evaporated in the vast explosion. Thus ends the first half of the movie. Write back to us if you're interested and we'll send you the rest. Piece by piece.
And the second reason I'm here is because... yes, it's because we have a new series lined up. A series of comedic episodes which will be on YouTube by the end of summer. I'm not making any... I'm trying to be kind of general rather than specific because we're quite bad at filming stuff and sticking to schedule, and we haven't even written anything yet, but we will have done shortly, and then we're going to film it, and then we're going to England a few weeks after that, and then coming back, and then going to other places, and we're going to be filming, and it'll be funny, so I hope. So yes, tune in, watch that, and thank you for watching. Oh, and tell us what you thought of the screenplay as well in the comments, which, the sort of there-ish. That's right. So, bye.